Jordan Jackson was Northwoods Mall's youngest tenant when he opened his business, Birch and Pen, inside the mall right before the pandemic. Now he and his company have had a rebirth. I talked one-on-one with Jordan about the rebirth for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Jordan Jackson, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you for having me, Quintin. I'm glad to be back.
Oh, you're very welcome. Needless to say, you are an entrepreneur, one of the youngest entrepreneurs around.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And of course, we all know here in Charleston that you were the owner of Birch and Pen inside Northwoods Mall. But now,
Yes.
you're back because you obviously have announced the release of the Rebirth 2023 handle, that is. Let me ask you before I get into all of that, who is
Okay.
Jordan Jackson these days?
Jordan Jackson is a family guy. I'm really a family guy right now. I've invested in taking care of one of my family members, actually. So that's been different, but it's rewarding at the end of the day to be able to spend time with my immediate loved ones here in Baltimore because, when I was working, I really didn't have that much time to spend with my immediate family. So I'm glad to be back. But I can say Jordan Jackson is a young adult who knows exactly who he is and knows exactly what he wants right now. And I think just to be able to say that is a blessing because I think a lot of people that go through difficult things might not really know who they are or know what direction their life is headed towards. But I think I have a pretty good idea.
What different things that you had to go do as a young adult so far?
Well, as you know, running my store, that was not a normal thing for a young adult, to do. But I'm thankful that there are so many young and creative individuals that are taking a risk to knock down barriers and, open up doors for other people to be creative and to be young entrepreneurs. I'm very glad. I'm very glad at what the future looks like for my generation.
Barriers did you knock down when you opened Birch and Pen in North Charleston?
I could say, as you stated, like becoming the youngest store owner and being a black male, um, I definitely felt I guess you can say, I felt the pressures of being a black male, honestly. And so I felt like I needed to do something to better my life and to kind of set the stage for others.
What were the internal and external pressures of being a young black man? And what were the internal and external pressures of being a business owner inside Northwoods Mall?
Yeah, so I think specifically coming from Baltimore, where there is a sense of, I don't know how to put it into good words. It's almost like in Baltimore, you experience a lot at a young age in the urban community. And I think that allowed me to be able to grow and mature faster. And I would say the pressures that I felt when I was running the store was mostly around the racial injustice that was happening around America at the time. So I'm sure you can relate as well, Quentin. As black men, to see so many black men in the media portrayed in a weird light, it's not really something that you feel comfortable about. And then when you see like people like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so many other people, I guess that kind of changed your perception of life. When you grow up like as a fearless child, you kind of learn of different realities of the world, and so that's kind of like the internal things that I felt, honestly.
But then when you go back to Northwoods Mall, were there any racial injustice that you had to endure?
I'm not sure if it was racial, but it was definitely some obstacles, you can say. Definitely.
And how would you characterize those obstacles right now?
I would say, I would say actually there's a trend. Well, it's not, I don't want to categorize it as a trend, but there is something going around in America right now where successful entrepreneurs, black entrepreneurs that specifically are in malls, are being misplaced and being kicked out of malls for no apparent reason. Like there's no logical reason that kind of answers the question of why they're being removed from their establishments.
How were you misplaced at Northwoods Mall?
Well, I guess I can say I got kicked out. I guess you could say that, but it wasn't really a kick out. So my lease was coming to an end in October of 2019. Don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. You know, COVID kind of it was like a fast forward. But I guess you can say when I was in contact with management at the time, I'm not sure if they're there anymore, about just different things that were going around on the mall and that my customers no longer felt safe going there. I basically let them know that, you know, it wasn't making sense for me. It don't make sense for me to stay past the end of my lease because my customers don't feel safe. And it's like they want to support me. You know, we were able to attract over 50,000 people to Northwoods, and that's just an estimate. And, you know, I have millions of supporters online. And so, you know, you want to create like a safe place for people to come and support not just me, not just my brand, but we also featured many different small businesses and entrepreneurs showcase their products inside the store. So I wanted to create a great ecosystem for those people and those products to be able to thrive. And so when I voiced my opinion to management at the time, saying that I wanted to end my lease at the end of my lease term, um, you know, I kind of got like, okay, or whatever. But it was like, what can we do to make you stay because you bring us so much traffic? And I was like, it's not much that you can do to make me stay. And so they presented me with a rent reduction, and it was a half price rent reduction. And I actually got a letter from the management company saying that I didn't pay the full amount of rent and for the next month. And I was like, please check with the leasing manager. These are the terms that you know, that I approved or whatever that was presented to me, and I never heard back from them. And so I went on, you know, doing business as normal, and let our customers know that we were relocating at the end of the month with ABC News 4, and did an interview. And then the very next day, I had a lease termination with no explanation on it. And I was like, you know, we still had days left of our lease term, and I was unsure why that happened. And so I called, and that's what they told me happened. And so the leasing manager never submitted the lease reduction over to the corporate company, and so it made it seem that I didn't pay rent, but that wasn't the case, and my lease was terminated.
So, what was the full amount of rent, sir?
I don't necessarily want to disclose the full amount because I don't like talking numbers. Um, that's kind of something personal, but yeah.
Well, then let me ask you this: what was the rent reduction before this lease was terminated?
The rent reduction was half of the price of the rent that I was paying normally.
So, how much were you paying normally?
I don't want to disclose numbers. I'm not like a numbers person. I don't believe in revealing certain numbers in business. It's just that's personal.
Now, who did you exactly contacted in the mall when in reference to wanting to end your lease?
Yeah, so it was the leasing manager at the time. She was fairly new. I'm not sure if she's there anymore.
What was your relationship with management prior to this?
Surprisingly, it was great. You know, I did have some weird, I guess you can say, I don't know, some weird moments with management, but it wasn't. it wasn't more so. It was the higher up of management, actually, the highest of management, I would say. And I had some weird interactions with her. But as far as the leasing managers, they were always great. But it was just that one moment that that kind of went left. And I will say it was a blessing in disguise, because who knew that COVID was happening just a few months later, and that the world would be crazy for 2 years.
Go back to the new leasing manager that was obviously brought in before this your lease was actually terminated. What relationship did you have with her, and how did you communicate with her?
Yeah, so she came in, and when she first came in and she got the job, we were in communications, and she was basically saying, what can she do to help us grow and everything like that, and basically telling us like the new plans for like the mall and everything like that. And she was great, and I think it was just a moment in the end where it was a lack of communication, a big lack of communication, as far as submitting the paperwork over to the corporate company, and then as well as when we asked what was the reason for the termination, she said that we also never submitted um, paperwork over to her. But how would we know to submit paperwork over to you when you presented the rent reduction to me? Understand what I'm saying?
So, what was presented to you first, the rent reduction or the other document?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, what was actually presented to you first? Was it the rent reduction or was it the other document?
The reduction.
Okay, and when did you actually get that document from the new leasing management?
You mean the termination?
Yes, sir.
It literally happened the day after my news
Right,
interview with.
right, right. And did she fully understood the rent reduction, or how soon did she come on before this took place?
So she came on at the end of my lease agreement, but she was the one that presented the rent reduction to me.
Huh.
So that was kind of weird.
And how long does it take for something like that, as far as let's say the rent reduction, to be submitted to the big management?
Well, I was told that it was approved.
Huh.
Yep. And I think right now it's important to share my story, because I realized how much my story resonated with so many people, not only in Charleston, but around the world. And I think that it's important to know, like, no matter what happens, like, to keep following your dreams, and to outwork those obstacles. Like right now, I'm in my Baltimore headquarters, where we will be able to scale the company and reach the needs of our customers, both here and in Charleston and around the world. And so it's very important to know, like, business is not perfect at all, but when it comes to your dreams, not just business, your dreams, your goals, it's important that you pull yourself back together after those, you reach those barriers and overcome that, and outwork it.
Now, how long did you want to stay at Northwoods Mall?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I knew at that time when my customers no longer felt safe there, I knew that it was time to relocate. I did love the connections that I made with the local store owners and tenants there. I think that's one of the main reasons why I didn't share like the full story at the time, because I didn't want it to hurt the neighbors that were doing business there, because we built a family in that mall, and so did we with like the staff, the cleaners, the people who took the housekeeping that took care of the mall. It was like a big family, honestly. So
Now, with that lack of public safety, how much did it hurt the other store owners that you knew?
I can say, how are we measuring this? How are we measuring this? I could say it affected a little bit.
Mm.
Well, I can't really speak for other people,
Sure.
but when something happens, the the business in the mall dies down for at least a few days. And so if it happened repeatedly,
And how long did it happen repeatedly when you were in business?
it happened every now and then. I could
And
say that.
and how much did that bring down your traffic?
Towards the end, it brought down traffic a lot because we went through. It was a tropical storm. I don't know if you remember in
Right. We talked.
2019, I think it was a tropical storm. And then the traffic in the mall already died down, and then when you deal with um the other situations that was happening, traffic died down. So like a lot of store owners said business was slow for at least almost 2 weeks.
So for almost 2 weeks, what was Northwoods Mall communication with these other store owners to make certain that public safety was a priority for them?
I'm not sure what the communication was.
And let me ask you, well, speaking of the management, what were those weird moments that you were referring to earlier, sir?
I think it was more so about me realizing that I'm an adult. I may have been a young adult, and so it was more so about me learning how to have certain boundaries with the way that people communicate with me and the way that I communicate with others. Um, just because I'm entering a new field, a new career, and just being able to communicate effectively with just different people, different management, and everything like that. As a
Did
young adult,
as a young adult. Now, sir, did those boundaries hurt you in the long run with your lease and that rent reduction?
I'm not sure. I think the boundaries taught me. It taught me a lot. It taught me how to manage certain situations and how to always have like a better outlook. I think there's always a great solution at the end of every problem. And so it taught me a lot of things positively, I can say.
Now, I know that you told me this earlier too in the 2020 interview that I did with you for Point Explosives. But where exactly did you want to relocate after you were essentially, as you mentioned, kicked out of Northwoods Mall?
Yeah, so I was looking at different areas. I wasn't 100% sure. I wasn't 100% sure yet, honestly. Um it was just a lot happening all at once, and there were some great locations that we saw, but the timing wasn't right. And then COVID ended up happening a few months later, and so it was just time to dial back and take a break and focus on rescaling, restructuring the business.
Let's talk about that because I know you don't want to talk about Northwoods Mall too much. But
Oh,
obviously, yeah, you obviously announced
I
the.
I
Go ahead.
do want to. Without that opportunity, I wouldn't be able to express my dream the way that I do. That was just a moment that's important to share because it's a part of my legacy, and it's also to inspire others that no matter what happens, that you can outwork any situation. It's not about bashing any establishment or anybody or something like that because we move past it, but it's acknowledging the past so that we all can learn from certain situations and that we can have a positive outlook on anything, and that you don't have to shrink because like a challenging situation came up. Like that should be even more inspiring for you to work harder and to reach your goals.
Now, did you outwork that situation at Northwoods Mall?
I think it wasn't. I think let's take the mall out of it. I've learned how to deal with challenging times when it comes to business. I learned how to interact with my customers. This was like my first big thing. I learned how to build beautiful relationships. I learned how important it is about helping others and to be able to collaborate with other entrepreneurs and to open up the door for many other people, as did so many people do for me. And so it was important to keep on passing that down. And I think that's more important than anything.
Now, when you were at Northwoods Mall, how did you actually interact with those customers there?
Oh, I loved it. We spent many hours in the store just hashing it out, talking and everything like that. And it was therapeutic actually. I can say that there's so many inspiring creatives and entrepreneurs in Charleston that I'm so inspired by, and I'm so thankful that they were able to kind of take me under their wing, and we were able to teach each other different things and collaborate, and so it was a beautiful thing.
And I talk about this a lot on Quintin's close-ups with a lot of entrepreneurs and restaurant owners, whatnot. But exactly, sir, what was your business model prior to opening Birch and Pen in Northwoods Mall?
So there wasn't really a certain business model. So I don't know. Do you know the backstory of how Birch and Pen started?
I know you told me on Quintin's close-ups with Pinterest and
Yeah,
all that stuff. Yes, sir.
started my business online as an online accessory and kind of retail space or whatever, but I wasn't so far deep into like selling clothing at first. It was just accessories, and I collaborated with a whole bunch of influencers and everything like that. And so my mom was actually working with one of the entrepreneurs in the mall. And so the opportunity ended up coming to me. And so there wasn't like a huge structured business plan. It was just that it was an opportunity. And I prayed to God for the opportunity, and it presented itself. So it was time to take action, and thank God that it worked out and that it had such a great impact on my life. I'm so thankful for that.
Now that you're in Baltimore and you're back home and your life has changed and there's a rebirth with you and your company, where is your business model now?
So that will be announced very, very, very soon. But we just launched our Rebirth 23 luxury candle. And the business model is basically what Birch and Pen, the identity that Birch and Pen evolved into on its own, and with the influence of others. It's just on a more, I think, on a larger scale.
So, what's
And
what,
fulfilled eventually. Not
oh
too
yeah,
early. Not
yes,
too
sir.
early.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. You said this in the press release, ushering in a new era. The affordable luxury candle is the first product to kick off the relaunch of your company. So, why luxury candle? Why now?
So candles, actually, because we would sell out of inventory so fast in the store, candles actually was one of the products that helped us sustain. And so a lot of at the time my audience, I catered towards like the hipster streetwear. That was like the vibe of the store, but our customers were far past just that one category. And so I wanted to start with a product that could define generations and define categories. And so I think that's why it was important for us to start with the candle. And we actually are pretty known for candles. I don't know how, but I'm thankful for that. It was a clothing boutique, but so many other things originated from that.
And what were those other things that originated from that?
Oh, listen, if I tell you, it's going to be a sneak peek of what's to come. But well, then,
Yes, sir. So, let me ask you, Mr. Jackson, who is your audience now?
that is a very good question. I think my audience is dreamers, entrepreneurs, people who are inspired to create a better life for themselves and their families and for their community.
Um, what is that community under the Birch and Pen and Rebirth 2030, 23rd, initiatives?
Could you restate that one time? It broke up a little bit.
Oh, no worries.
Sorry.
It's Zoom and technology. You know how that goes. But what is the community now under the Birch and Pen and Rebirth 23rd initiatives?
Yeah, I think that we're still working on that. I know in the past, um, we had a wide. I think our community had a wide range. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the support was so overwhelming, and it's like the best thing possible. But it's kind of hard to have a category for our audience and customers and the Bird Squad. You know about.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that on Quintin's close-ups. Well, let me go back down memory lane because I want to know this too, Mr. Jackson. How did that history with you starting your own business at Northwoods Mall to now allow you to actually rebirth?
So I think that the history is kind of like the spark that got like the interest up around like the company. And since I'm not going to say closed, but since we closed that location, a lot of our customers have been asking for different things or whatnot, different items, and different great moments. And so that's kind of what we've been working on. Excited about it. I could say it's very scary. It's very scary being an entrepreneur and launching a company, and also being with me managing my entire company. Before I had different management help, but I think it's scary, but at the same time it's very I think it's inspiring. I think it's inspiring for people to be able to take control of their life and their company, and to be able to become CEOs and run their businesses effectively. I think that's very cool. But I'm just structuring everything, making sure that it's good, solid. Yeah.
So, what was your approach to all of this prior to doing this? Now, just managing everything on your own.
You mean how did we do it before?
Yeah, talk to me about just taking everything under your wing. You had the managers. Now you're basically doing everything on your own until you start launching some other things. What was your approach to that?
Yeah, I don't want to say that I'm necessarily doing everything on my own, but I'm taking more control over my life and becoming a young adult, as we all do as young adults. It's like a point where you're guided with whether it's your parents or your guardians, or it could be a community or mentor or whatnot. But it's a time where it's time for you to fly on your own and make mistakes and learn from them. And I think that's kind of like the place that I'm at right now with my business as well. I always have people that I can rely on and ask questions, and people that's willing to step in and help. I have a great support system, but right now it's more so about me taking more control over my life, and to be able to create the future of Birch and Pen
Now that you have stepped out on your own, Mr. Jackson, how many mistakes have you made thus far professionally?
on my own. I'm sure I made many, but I mean, we all make mistakes. That's life. But professionally, I don't know, Quintin. I really don't know. Life is about mistakes. You learn from them, you move on, you grow.
You grow. And what have you learned from those mistakes, and how have those mistakes allow you to grow as a person and as an entrepreneur?
Mistakes. I love mistakes. I embrace mistakes. I think mistakes make us who we are. Depending on how you learn from them, as long as it's nothing life or no life or death situation, I think you can learn from anything. Um, just as you would, mistakes. I mean, you can trip. You can walk down the street and trip and fall, and then you just get up and you walk again. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's just something. It's natural. It's human. I think that's the most amazing part. I think that was a very good question, because it's like the mistakes really do define us.
And how do you want to be defined 5, 10, 15 years from now as an entrepreneur?
I would like for my story to help guide others on their journey. I think that's important for me. I would like for not just young people. I would like for all people to be able to see themselves in my journey, no matter what it is. Just to know that you can overcome anything, that you can reach for it, all of your goals, and I mean, you can accomplish them. It might not be exactly what you want it to be, but you can try your best, and I guarantee you that you will be a million times happy with the results, just by trying and fighting for your dreams. And just, I don't know, I'm so overwhelmed with just the love and support that I've been receiving over the years, and I'm thankful.
So, are you happy with the results that you've gotten so far on this journey?
Yeah, I am happy. I'm happy that God has protected me on this journey and my loved ones, and kept us sane. Thank God. I would say that, yeah, I am happy, and I'm happy because I know that the harder that I work, the more that my legacy will outlive me, and so I like that ability. That's like a big goal of mine.
And what other goals do you want to have as far as abilities to do what you want to do in life?
A farm,
Yeah.
a farm. I could farm today, and I'll be at peace for the rest of my life. I promise you. But um, honestly, I'm just like I just want to be the best version of myself to be able to make an impact on this world, even if it's a small impact, if that makes sense. I just want to be, I don't know. I don't know. I just want to, I don't know, Quintin.
And earlier, Mr. Jackson, I know you talked about obviously having a lot of candles in the Birch and Pen store, and it was a brick and mortar store. If you could go back to then to right now, which one of those candles that you sold actually describes you?
Rebirth,
Hmm.
right now, Rebirth 23, our newest candle. That describes me. Um, yeah, that really does describe me.
Wow. And what is something from the customers that they've been requesting that has actually surprised you the most?
I see what you're doing, Quintin. Um, honestly, my customers are so supportive. The thing that has surprised me the most is that they hoped for another store. And I'm not gonna say much about that, but
Mm.
we would love moments like that. We had a very good time in Birch and Pen in the store.
And do you have any comments or any ideas or suggestions from the customers to bring it back here to Charleston in some sort of capacity?
Charleston will always be a home for Birch and Pen and myself. I mean, this is just where we will manage everything and run everything, just for the season of life. But Charleston is always on the horizon.
And what else is on your horizon professionally, sir?
Professionally, we don't know. Who knows? I'm just open to whatever God has for me. And and yeah, professionally, that's a very good question. What about you?
We can talk about that off.
Okay, 'cause that's a very interesting question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I know that Mr. Jackson, you actually confirmed that Rebirth 23 is both a statement and fact for yourself and your company. So what was that statement in fact before Rebirth 23?
I think it's a rebirth for both my company and myself. And then 23 is like a very important number for me. I'm at 23 years old right now. Um, we kind of officially launched on the 23rd.
Yes.
My parents were born on the 23rd. A lot of other things happened on the 23rd, but it's more so personal things.
Hmm.
So,
Wow.
yeah. Rebirth. I think the rebirth is, I think that we're going through a rebirth in the world right now. After COVID, I think everything that we knew it has kind of changed a little bit. And so I think with the rebirth 23, I think 2023 is the year of the rebirth for the world. and for the United States.
How has COVID changed you as an entrepreneur?
It made me appreciate like the small stuff more.
Mm.
It made me appreciate just being able to just go out of the house, hang out with friends, be with loved ones, cookouts, family reunions,
Sure.
holidays. Because we forget about like when COVID happened, a lot of us couldn't really see like our grandparents as much because it was recommended that the elders stay away from other family members because they were more at risk. And so like now I can't get enough of my family. I love my family.
Yes, that is really amazing. Family's always important. Always
Yeah.
important. Yes, indeed. Well, entrepreneur of Birch and Pen and obviously Rebirth 23rd, Jordan Jackson, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close Ups.
Thank you for having me, Quentin.
Oh, you're very welcome.